Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. It's 2025 and our first episode for a new year, episode 429. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
I'm back for another year.
The whole year?
We'll see.
Committed.
Can't
quit.
Yeah,
Yearly
exactly.
renewal. It's like a lease. A really terrible lease.
That no one pays any money for at all, in any way whatsoever.
My rates are going up this year from $0 to £1 appearance.
Shit, alright, I got £550. Okay, cool. And Aadil.
Hey,
what are your rates now?
same as always.
Oh, good. Perfect.
You're like 9 years overdue on payments.
Yeah, to be fair, actually, I think we're in our 10th year.
10th anniversary is coming up this year.
I know, nuts.
Oh boy.
10 listeners. 10 listeners as well, so that's one a year. That's good. I think we've made it. Perfect. Let's kick in with some beers, and then we're going to talk about some games. Talk about maybe some games we played over the holiday season, and potentially about what we're looking forward to in 2025. Generally, our first episode back is a bit of a look forward to maybe what is coming up. So we will do that again this year. Cool. Beers first. Lucy, you and I are going to drink the same beer this evening. I mean, different cans of the same beer, not the same one, pass through the screen to each other. But I think both of us doing dry January again.
Yeah. I might have a beer next week because got my tasting thing at Attic. But
nice.
Otherwise, yeah, it's not even. Doesn't even feel like dry January. It's just. I mean, there's nowhere to go. It's too cold, so it's just like, yeah, just like okay, yeah. Just, alright, yeah, that makes sense,
Yeah.
If, just not drinking because I'm not going anywhere in this weather.
That's fair.
When it's -6.
I've already failed because a client very, very kindly, when I had a meeting with them last week, gave me a bottle of wine. First meeting we've had in the new year, so they gave me a bottle of red, and I was like, I'm going to drink that now. So it's low. It's less alcohol for January.
Damp January.
Damp January. That's a good way to. That's a good way. I've got it's not so obviously a lot of alcohol-free beers are 0.5%. I do have, I think, what they're calling a quarter IPA in the fridge from another brewery, not one we're drinking tonight, but one which is 1%. So, a touch of alcohol maybe in a future episode for January. We've only got a few weeks left, so let's crack into these ones first. Then, Lucy, why don't you introduce what you and I are drinking this evening?
Yeah, it's as you said, from Wiper and True. It is called First Draught. It's one of 4 beers that they put out a few weeks ago for Dry January, series of 4. I've had the 2, which was a dry stout called Double Take, and that was surprisingly good.
Nice.
Because I would just never think a darker beer, a stout or something like that would work alcohol-free, but apparently the Guinness 0% is very good, apparently, and
yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, that dry stout was very impressive.
Ooh, I've got it on my shelf, so I look forward to that.
Yeah, I think the rest of the pack is all pales and IPAs. This is a pale ale.
Yeah, I think number 3, which I've also got in the fridge, is a.
There's a Radler.
Yeah, number 3 I think is a West Coast IPA.
Right.
And number 4 is a Radler. 4 is the only one I haven't picked up, but.
Yeah, because I'm not a massive fan of Radlers. It's like.
No, and it's kind of the wrong time of year for it as well, isn't it? Like you want a Radler like a really hot fucking day.
Like the beer festival last year when it was quite hot. There were a lot of Radlers. Maybe too many. But anyway, I'll read the flavor text on the back here. It says, "First Draught, a delicious alcohol-free pale ale brewed in collaboration with Manchester's finest, Track Brewing. Soft and fluffy, this beer delights with an explosion of tropical notes and a spritz of lemon and lime thanks to innovative new concentrated hop extract oil. Oh, I like that. Citra Hyper Boost. It sounds like the name of a Razer keyboard or something.
Absolutely, or a special
Razer
move.
Citra Hyper Boost.
Yeah.
All but 0.5% of the alcohol is removed using market-leading de-alcoholization technology. I wonder what that specifically is. This alcohol-free beer done properly. Yeah, nothing of surprise in it. Oats, spelt. Yeah, and I like these because it gives you the nutritional information about, how it's. You still got your carbs in there, but it's low calorie and stuff like that. So that's always nice.
Absolutely. It's interesting that Wiper and True, obviously they did Kaleidoscope alcohol-free version last year. I think it was released last year, and had done a lager the year before, if not maybe the year before that. But interesting that they're expanding their alcohol-free range. But I kind of like this year where you've got the series, the 4 beers, and they're all collaborations with other breweries as well. And potentially, take some market data of what's been sold and that kind of stuff, and one of these beers but goes on yearly rotation or something like that. So it'd be interesting to see how they develop, because they seem to be developing their alcohol-free beers every year ultimately.
It's an ever-growing market, so tap into it.
Yeah, definitely. We did go out. Kim and I went out on Saturday night, last night, for some dinner. And the restaurant we went to had a small, A6 card on the table, which listed off 6 alcohol-free beers, and I think 2 alcohol-free ciders that they'd had in, especially for January. And I had, what did I have? I can't remember the breweries, who they were. I had a 0.5, and then I had I think a 2.5 as well, which I think they called which was a micro IPA, but they also had like a table beer on there, and it wasn't just no alcohol; it was no and low kind of selection on top of what they normally sort of sell. But yeah, interesting to see again. Lots of places kind of branching out, I suppose, and doing that a little bit more as well around that. Cool, Aadil, what are you drinking this evening?
I am drinking. I had no beer in the house and forgot all about it being Sunday. But I went to the supermarket. I went to the Sainsbury's and grabbed a Whitstable Bay Pale Ale because I literally Whitstable Bay Pale Ale because I've literally never had it and thought, why not? It's from Faversham Steam Brewery, refreshingly light with lively citrus aromas. It is a half-liter at 4%. I'm not gonna even try and. Holy crap! That's sorry. There is flavor text, but it's that
tiny.
Yeah, like I've got good eyes, but not in this silly dark room. Oh, there we go. Whitstable combines old seaside charm with a modern bohemian vibe, and this is reflected in the Whitstable Bay collection. This thirst-quenching pale ale is inspired by brisk walks along the beach, past the iconic Old Neptune, and is crafted using aromatic Challenger and Styrian Goldings hops, delivering a fruity, refreshing taste.
Nice.
Googling Whitstable.
It's available in your local Sainsbury's if you live in the Northeast, specifically in Durham, up in Charles Gate.
I'd imagine probably available in most. Probably available in most of them.
Yeah. Oh, you can smell the hops coming off it just on that crack in the hop.
Nice. Cool. Lucy, let's get into first draft then from Wiper and True.
It smelled pretty good.
Does smell nice.
And it's a good looking beer. I mean, if you told me that was alcohol free, I wouldn't believe you. Just light straw coloured. It's very cloudy.
Oh wow,
it is.
But it's still got a tiny bit of head there. Yeah, aromas. I'd say a bit of peach. Maybe a bit of apple.
Yeah, it's quite sweet. Like a little sweetness in the nose. It's very, very refreshing.
Yeah. I think it's got a bit of a weak finish. Like, I would have appreciated a bit more boost of hops at the end from the hyper boost. Yeah, it's got a bit of a wishy-washy, watery finish, but that initial taste,
Mm.
you're getting those citra notes, you're getting those like kind of tropical citrus kind of fruit notes in there, and it's so yeah, I think it's let down by the second half of it. But
Yeah,
what do you think?
I'd agree. I'd agree absolutely. It's got a lovely light sort of sweetness to it. It's very refreshing when it kicks kind of in, but it does just peter out a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, yeah, but that first initial taste and even the middle taste is really good, I think.
I'd agree.
Getting bits of lemon, and you're getting that like kind of like zinginess as well from the hops. But yeah, that it's not a bad aftertaste by any means, and it's got a tiny bit of bitterness, but yeah, it just washes away far too quickly.
Yeah, I'd like to think my palate might acclimatise to it a little bit better as I'm drinking it, and that flavour sticks around a little bit more. Otherwise, I know it's 0.5%, so there's not a huge amount of alcohol in there, but it's it's not quite edging towards some of the alcohol-free beers where it's a bit more like fruit squash or something like that, a little bit kind of wet and a little bit watery. It's not there, but it feels consistency-wise, maybe mouthfeel-wise, a little bit of carbonation on it. So it's just a little bit not lacking, but it just peters out for me, just that little bit, and it makes it a bit dangerous in terms of not the alcohol content, but how quickly you would get through this versus just
when you want to savor it.
Exactly.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if the finish was there, then they'd definitely be onto something here. It doesn't have that like very sweet like I had a mash gang lager a couple days ago. And yeah, I know people like Mash Gang, but a lot of their beers just don't do it for me. I tried a lager because it's like a lot of their pales I had tried before and mixed results. But I was thinking a lager like the alcohol-free lagers that Wiper True and have done. I was thinking, okay, we're not going for that like very intense kind of like flavor profile to it. Lager is a bit, more subtle, more subdued. But even that beer had that kind of like artificial sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Like had like sort of like, fake sweets and I don't know, like whatever they put in like American anything American, any American products where it's like, oh, we're just gonna throw some weird sugar that's from corn in it or something like that, and it's like it's got even that had it's like, why is a lager sweet? It just shouldn't be like that. This doesn't have that at all. It's got that sweetness, but it doesn't feel artificial. It feels more like a fruity sweetness rather than, oh, just dump something a bit strange in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's decent. It's not quite on the level of the Kaleidoscope or the Tomorrow from Wiper and True from me. And yeah, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on that stout when you get to it, because I thought that was really good. Maybe because I haven't had beer since Boxing Day or whatever, but I thought it was very good.
Or maybe I'll drink it during the week, and then we can have a quick catch up at the start of next week's episode on it. Then maybe launch into number 3 or something like that. From them. Before drinking any other alcohol-free beers we want to highlight this month. But we'll come back to you, Aadil, for Whitstable Bay. What was it? Whitstable Bay Pale Ale?
Yeah, just the Whitstable Bay Pale. Pale Ale. Yeah. It poured with the lighting coming from the key light and the face light. It's so clear, and it poured with like a lot of bubbles. I honestly felt like I was in a commercial, like it was growing just enough head. The light was hitting it as casting through it, and it's just this beautiful amber color, and it's like clear, and surprisingly vegan according to the
Nice.
internet anyway. Which now I have to pay more attention to, even with smaller breweries, it seems. Like I said, it's got this lovely dank with a hint of sweet citrus nose.
Said it's got golding. So hops in it. Yeah. I like Goldings. Classic, but like
Styrian Goldings, no less.
used white. Okay, used right. Like traditional British, like Goldings, Fuddles, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because with something like Goldings, you get those little adjuncts in front of them as well. You get like East Kent Goldings, Styrian Golding. You know, I think that maybe dependent on where they're kind of produced from. So it's an interesting, or maybe it's a variety. I don't know. But yeah, it's you see them being used. I feel like I've seen Goldings being used a lot more in the last couple of years,
Absolutely.
rather than getting
And
European or American hops sort of shipped over.
I mean, cost
Some
alone,
good things
but,
came out of
you know,
Brexit. Some Goldings came out of Brexit.
yeah. But yeah, it's good to see them using like what we have in this country
Yeah.
because they're good hops. Yeah. So,
On the taste, it tastes nice and a little better, little drying. It's a solid beer, and it's like the exact type of pale ale you want for this weather. Right? It's a very British tasting beer. It's got enough bitter bite to it that like it feels at home in the winter, even rather than it being more of a springy thing.
Okay.
You can get with different pale ales. It's really tasty. I'll have to keep this in mind. My first impression is solid. There's like not all. It's doing what you want. Is basically.
Yeah. Cool. All right, good. Let's launch into games for the episode then, and start off with anything anyone has played over the last sort of few weeks. We didn't record for about 2 weeks, nearly 3 weeks maybe, since our end of year episode just before the sort of the Christmas holiday break. So there's been a reasonable amount of time to sort of play stuff. I've got not through a few things, but I have dabbled in a few things over the break. I know, Aadil, you've been sort of traveling a lot and stuff. So maybe
I was in the Canadas.
Yeah,
I took the Steam Deck and didn't turn it on once.
Yeah.
Actually, I tried to, and it turns out it was in sleep mode all that time and not off.
Oh, good.
So it needed charging.
Brilliant.
I had a nice board game with my niece and nephew.
Yeah.
Oh, which one?
Called Sequence. So it's a 2, 3, 4, or 6 player game. It's basically you've got a deck of cards, and they're shockingly bad quality, and then a board. Yeah, like the thing that you can get for £1 at Poundland, maybe even a pack of 2, right? Like they're just so flimsy when you shuffle them. Anyway, and you've got a board that is a 10 by 10 grid of every card twice, except the 4 corners are wild spots.
Okay.
And you have tokens in your color, so if it's 2-player, you're playing, 50-ish of tokens. If there's 3 players, there's 33 of each. And then if you're 4 and 6, you go back to the 2s and play in teams. But you basically draw a hand of 5, I think 6, and your turn is you play a card from your hand, and you can put your token on the corresponding one of the 2 corresponding spots on the board that card represents. And your team is trying to get 2 sequences of 5 in a row.
Right.
So the corners are wild, so you only need 4 tokens, and you can use a token in you can only use 1 token in a second sequence. So you can't like do 5 and then add 1 and say 6.
Yeah.
Because you've got 2 5s in there. And it's surprisingly strategic, but it plays very differently when you are your own team versus with someone else. And the key here is the jacks aren't. Sorry, if you do the math, there's some cards missing, because the jacks are not on the board, and the one-eyed jacks are remove a token from the board, and the 2-eyed jacks are put a token wherever put a token wherever you want.
Right.
And so just because someone blocks you doesn't mean you're hooped. But the wilds also mean you can have dead cards. And the one thing that really stymied me in the game is after you play a card, you draw a card. But it's written in the game rules, if you don't draw the card, you are down a card in your hand for the rest of the game. And I've played so many card games in my life, but for some reason, just sitting at the kitchen table, I went down to 4 cards in like my second game playing, and it was like and two of them were jacks, but there were two one-eyed jacks, so they're very strategic. And I'm like, I have 2 cards. I'm cycling 1 card away every turn. I have no option. I can't use these until I pick up something that I can then swap them in with. I'm basically paralyzed by this missing draws. But it was just a lot of fun, and it's like it scales really well with the like strategic abilities of people, because you can. It's basically tic-tac-toe, right, with cards.
Yeah.
But you just can't choose what you're doing. So I think it's a great like
Connect 4.
Yeah. It's a great game for there is strategy there, because there's always there's at least at the beginning there's 2 places you can put it, and you're trying to figure out when to develop parts of the board. But you can also just play the game, if you know what I mean. Like it has some underlying strategy, but it's not so broken that if someone like did the maths in their head, they would be like, I win because I see the underlying strategy, because there's enough luck in the card draw.
Yeah.
But yeah, really neat.
Nice, good.
And that's the closest thing I got to. Oh no, I played Mario Kart on the Wii on the projector with my niece and nephew, but played 2 rounds and just let them and their cousins play for the most part, and just made fun of them because they don't boost. They don't drift boost.
You don't need to actually
in the latest one
put your hands on the controller to play that game.
I know, because
I know.
My 5-year-old cousin, nephew, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I know because I played with my nephew, and I'm like, this is awful. Maybe if I just stop playing, I don't have to do anything. And hey presto, that works.
Yeah.
And he still thinks I'm playing.
You can turn off you can turn off assists basically, because there's an assist that won't let you fall off the track, and then there's an assist that you don't ever have to let go, press the gas.
Yeah, which is what I play.
Yeah. And my niece and nephew, once they get comfortable, it's interesting because we played another game, I can't remember what it was called, but there were like wild cards, and they didn't want to play with it. I'm like, oh, but there's so much more interesting strategy with these other cards. And the same thing, they've had the Switch now for a couple of years, and they are fine with playing 100 cc's from now until the end of time.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, but the real Mario Kart's at 150. Just like, so I was explaining to them, like, oh yeah, so the thing about that never having to hit press gas is you would do poorly, because at the higher speeds you need to brake before turns. And they're like, brake before turns? I'm like, yeah. I also don't fault you for that, because I don't you don't play Mario Kart to like racing strat.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
Let them learn that on their own.
Yeah. In the same way that one of the reasons why I really loved Need for Speed Most Wanted, and a lot of those Need for Speed games, is you don't need to brake before turns so much as be in manual and downshift to second or first, and the game will engine brake you faster than your brakes.
Those are good Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Hasn't been a Need for Speed for years, has there?
What was the last one?
I think there have been like some in like the last 5 years that
Really?
tried to be like, we're cool, in the Ubisoft way.
I think the last one I remember was like Hot Pursuit.
Or is it EA?
EA.
Yeah, where it's like, we're cool for the kids, that in that sense.
We've got cars.
According to Wikipedia, which I don't know about you guys, but Wikipedia has a dark mode that I've not realized for so long. I'm so used to it being white, and then the other day I'm like, oh, there's a panel on the side. And I clicked dark, and my eyes felt, because I was on my computer in my room with the lights off, as you always do, and my eyes, I could feel the strain go away, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I did not know this.
I didn't know that.
It might be newish, but according to Wikipedia,
I might have to try it.
The last Need for Speed was Unbound, 2022, December 2nd.
Wasn't that like with like art students or something like that?
It was developed by Criterion, and it's the first Criterion developed Need for Speed after 2012's Most Wanted reboot, one of the infamous game called after game games, like Call of Duty and all the other ones. But I remember being so annoyed because Most Wanted, when I say Most Wanted, I mean the OG Need for Speed Most Wanted, which was fun.
Yeah, a lot of those early games were fun for a good like 5, 6 games on the trot or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
They
think
were all
I
really good.
probably started with. Oh no, actually, Hot Pursuit 2010 was the first one that they did that stupid thing. Oh no, that's another remake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was because Need for Speed 3 was Hot Pursuit. At least it was called 3, and the new one was just called Hot Pursuit, I think.
I think so. Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah.
But yes, it's like around Underground, 2003 to all the way through to like maybe Undercover or no, Carbon maybe was the.
I think everyone lost their collective shit when Need for Speed: The Run came out,
Oh God.
which I actually enjoyed. Because it was just like a
2011.
single player. Yeah, it was just like, oh, we're gonna have a story in Need for Speed, and that was
Yes.
probably the beginning of the end. But I actually enjoyed it. It was just like a single player, Fast and Furious kind of a campaign.
Wasn't
It
it
was
more like
decent.
Cannonball Run?
We're just slapstick constantly.
Um, Most Wanted was the street racing one. It had a plot. You had to take down the top 13 street racers to something.
Yeah, they had plots, but it
Yeah,
was
I know
more
what you
like
mean. That they had
sandbox,
framing, but that was the first one that was like plot.
Yeah, it was first like corridor kind of racing, and
Yeah.
I think that
Mm.
I don't think there was like any open world.
I think The Run might be the last one I played.
Well,
Actually,
you got off at the right time.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah,
it seemed like
I may have
14
played one or
years
two
ago.
after that or something.
I definitely touched. I think I played Most Wanted 2012 via one of those internet demos that you could get off the internet in the 2010s, and then didn't play it for very long. I also think the PC port wasn't great.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah, I think
know
I
if I
rented the
played
run off.
Rivals, and then No Limits
Rings a bell.
is an iOS game. Need for Speed. Oh yeah, I do remember making fun of them calling it Need for Speed. I mean, brace yourselves. In 10 years ago, in 2015.
Yeah.
And then I literally didn't know any. Like I didn't know Payback was a game or Heat or Unbound.
No, not at all. Not at all. Good. Well, there's Need for Speed for potentially never again. Perfect. Just a quick question before we move on sequence, Aadil. What's the age kind of rating on that? I can't remember how old are your niece and nephew now. Sort of.
Like 11 and 14.
Cool.
I will find out thanks to. Oh look, I googled it, and sure enough, it comes out at in this lovely black Wikipedia page. Age. There's no age range on the Wikipedia. I would imagine. I mean, so that's the thing is like it couldn't be. It doesn't have to be too. Like, because you can just sort of play, right?
Right.
I would imagine it's like low 8 or even lower, perhaps.
Cool.
But
okay.
7 according to Amazon's product page.
Wicked. Right.
Adults from 7 years.
Nice.
Wait, children and adults from 7 years. That makes more sense. What kind of 7-year-old adult exists?
Tons of them in work. Good, cool. Let's move on then. I might just jump in quickly, Lucy, because the games I've been playing, I've kind of dabbled with a little bit. One of which is Monument Valley 3.
Oh yeah, I got Netflix for a month to play it, and I've done like the first 3 levels. I need to get to it before the 31st of January.
Well, it's kind of like I always enjoyed with the first 2 games, as we do with some of these puzzle games, sort of the small vignettes that are produced and how self-contained a lot of these puzzles are. This one, Monument Valley 3, throws in some sort of extended sort of sections and things, and it's been okay, but it's sort of pulled away from, not pulled away from sort of what Monument Valley is or what it was in the first couple of games with sort of the puzzles and the way that the puzzles kind of work by manipulating the environments and moving sort of the structures and things like that, or having assistance from various kind of objects that you can kind of use or move about the environments, and spinning the camera angle round and things like that. But there's a couple of sections which just felt like they've gone, we need something completely different to put in, and it's like, okay, cool, it's fine that it's here, but I didn't need this extra kind of element to the game. Just give me another puzzle, please. I'm happy with just you throwing 40 puzzles at me, 20 puzzles at me. Great, sure, but it feels like the game's going to go, if it has 20 puzzles, it feels like it's 40 puzzles long, because you've got these extra bits in them. And I put it down whilst I was in the middle of one of these, not one of these sections, but in the middle of a puzzle, and I hadn't completed it to get back to the kind of the small hub that the character sort of starts in, and it threw me right back to the beginning of the puzzle again the next time I opened the game up. So there's no kind of like save state in the middle of these things, at least on mobile. I don't know if you can play it anywhere else at the moment, but yeah, on Android,
no, it's just on Netflix, by Netflix. Yeah.
So it was a little bit annoying because I'd spent a few minutes kind of with it, and then went, I've got to put it down. I've got stuff to do. Came back to it, was like, well, I've now just got to spend the same few minutes. I know what I'm doing, but it's kind of having to repeat those things again. So making sure that I've carved out, and they're not long for some of them. You're in kind of a vignette for maybe 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And you just got to make sure you've got those 5 minutes. Otherwise, you will be doing it, or starting it again if you cut out sort of midway through. But like you, Lucy, I will return to it. I expect at some point in January to finish it off. But...
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because it's like it's been a while since Monument Valley 2.
Absolutely.
And the whole like landscape for mobile games, mobile puzzle games has completely changed, and it's like a lot of that original team are not there anymore. It's basically a whole new team. So it's like, I understand them wanting to introduce new ideas and stuff like that rather than just repeating the same game over again, because I don't think Monument Valley, especially with like all the clones that have come since, I don't think it stands with as much kind of like uniqueness as it used to. So I get them wanting to add something new, and like I didn't really expect much from this game to like it as much as the original 2 or whatever, or even the first one, because the second one pretty much felt like just more. So yeah, it's just one of those where I'll just, when I actually find 5 minutes and I'm not falling asleep, I'll try and get through a few levels bit by bit. But it seems, just very relaxing. Put my headphones in and end up falling asleep.
Yeah. I mean, it is, as with the other Monument Valley, it is very fucking chill. The music, all of the sounds, the environmental sounds, everything. It's so relaxing, and it does. I think it's very similar to something like Gree or those kinds of games where it's all nice and relaxing and calm until it suddenly isn't, and then there's this thing that will happen, and then it will kind of draw you back down again and take you back to that kind of calm sort of moment. I absolutely see why this would be a game where you would start it up and be like, no, I'm falling asleep. I quickly finish this thing and then just turn it off, because it is that chill kind of experience. Yeah. Good. And then the other one I've been playing, I played a little bit more Marvel Rivals, played a little bit more Balatro as well, but the thing I've kind of got my teeth into is God of War Ragnarok. So I picked it up in a sale, had a bunch of credit, and bought it for like £4.50 or something like that.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, I've been wanting to play this for ages, and off the back of that kind of 2-hour trial that I did earlier kind of last year, and it's good. It's good. I'm enjoying it. It's very cold outside, and I'm walking around very, very cold environments. It feels very apt to be experiencing that at the same time. But it's obviously more God of War from the I can't remember when it released. When did the new reiteration of God of War 2018? Yeah. So it's more of that. And I think Ragnarok came out in 2023 now, so it's a couple of years old, I think now. But it is obviously more God of War in that sort of new vein. But interestingly, it swaps some characters out for little bits of the game as well. So you're playing as Atreus for some extended period of time. You're then back sort of with Kratos, and he wanders around with another character. Atreus kind of disappears for a little bit, and he's going around with another character who has sort of not pretty similar kind of abilities. So you're not changing the gameplay dynamic a huge amount when you're with this other character and things. But it's a good mix of combat and puzzles. It's obviously got Christopher Judge just saying "boy" a lot as well, which is great.
Did they patch it so that because I heard like one of the complaints was that like the side characters would always just tell you the solution to the puzzles. Did they patch that out?
So I have had it where I've spent maybe a bit of time, and they will say stuff like, "Do you want me to tell you what to do?" Not in that sort of way, but they will sort of be like, "Do you want me to figure this out for you?" And I don't know. There's no like prompt. There's no prompt that pops up saying that. It's almost like a bit of a "come on, hurry the fuck up" sort of moment, rather than them giving helping you with a solution.
I think that's because they patched it then, because the main complaint was that they would straight up just tell you.
That.
Like,
I don't think
2 + 2 is 4, dummy. Yeah. So I think they. I'll Google it just to make sure, but I know that was a massive complaint.
One of the really good things, one of the really good things about both games is the sort of the dynamic exposition. Right, when you're in the boat in the first game, and Mimir and Atreus are just chatting, and Mimir is telling you one of those stories, and this continues in the second game, that you get to kind of your destination, and Mimir is in the middle of what he's saying, and Kratos will say, "Stop, we need to go," or something like that, and pull the boat up to a dock or move into a new area. And then when you get back in the boat, Mimir starts the story up from kind of where he left off. So it does a lot of that still, and I really appreciate that, because it still wants you to have that kind of info dump. It still wants you to have that exposition. It wants you to know why things are the way they are within the environments and with the characters and what's kind of happened. And I think it's really good that, again, you get into a combat encounter, they stop, or they'll give a few quips kind of during that combat encounter, but then the story starts up again kind of afterwards, and it plays so like fluidly between these kinds of elements. And I don't think that, building back into that kind of puzzle idea, that actually there's not really anything that's kind of stumped me too much puzzle-wise. There's a few chests where you have to find a thing over here and make it symbol number 1, and that unlocks the symbol on the chest kind of thing. There's a couple of times where I haven't found one of those symbols to be able to change, and you don't get any hints on those kinds of things. I think it's maybe more around the main sort of puzzles that are sort of in there. But again, I haven't found anything that has made me really scratch my head, I suppose. It's all been quite, not necessarily self-explanatory, but after 30 seconds of a bit of exploration or looking around the environment, you can kind of see what needs to happen. So it's yeah, I could see why that would be annoying when maybe the puzzles aren't incredibly complex, and a character just going, "Do this," and you're like, "Oh, well, I could have figured that out in 5 seconds time."
Yeah, apparently there was an accessibility slider or something like that, but
right.
I just looked at a Reddit post, and someone described it as God of War Ragnarok features innovative real-time backseating technology.
Brilliant.
Oh dear. But yeah, I mean, it does like point to how big these AAA games are, and how they are just like a committee. It's just been like, look, we gotta make sure it appeals to the lowest common denominator of players and can't be too hard and slap yellow paint everywhere and make sure the NPCs give away every single solution because God forbid it's too difficult. It's just like, oh my. But yeah, that's good that that's no longer such a intrusive thing.
Yeah, I would imagine maybe it was something that didn't quite potentially get turned off, or maybe they've patched in to change it, because I'm pretty sure when I started it asked me kind of like the level of accessibility that I wanted.
Yeah.
To which I was like, none. I don't need anything. Just turn it all off. That's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just the default was for that to be on, and perhaps then that's been then bundled into that accessibility kind of, even though it was accessibility anyway.
Seems so. Yeah.
Cool.
They were just like, you're all thick. We're gonna leave it on.
Playtesting suggests no one can get past these puzzles.
Yeah. Default baby mode. Yeah.
Cool. I'll return to God of War Ragnarok probably in a few weeks when I've finished it. Had a reasonable.
It's long.
Well, I've had a reasonable
Which
amount
was
of time
my complaint over the first game.
Yeah, it was. The first game was long. I've had a good amount
long.
of time over the holiday to sort of sit down, for like a 2-hour period and be like, cool, I'm actually just going to play a big chunk of this now. And I feel like I'm making progress, but I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. So I can absolutely see that this is going to be a very long game.
We haven't left Kratos' hut yet. We're 6 hours in.
We've just been talking about soup, fucking all sorts of shit. What's going on? Nice, cool. Lucy, we'll come to you then. What have you been up to? What have you been playing over the last few weeks?
I've been playing cryptic crosswords. Does that count?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I've been practicing my cryptic crosswords, like actual cryptic crosswords rather than whole grids, rather than just what me and Aadil play.
Oh yeah,
the minute cryptic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been diving into those, watching tutorials with this nice Irish man in Dallas, working his way through cryptic crossword puzzles. So that's, I mean, just continually aging and turning into my parents, because my dad is very good at cryptic crossword puzzles. Never thought I'd see the day where I just morph into both of them, but here we are. But yeah, been practicing those, which is actually quite enjoyable. Because I got I asked for a cryptic crossword puzzle book for Christmas as well.
Oh, nice.
Doing that on pencil. Yeah, just before, again, falling asleep. Giving my brain a real workout just to tire it out at the end of the day. I haven't played any video games though. Okay. I don't think. I'll tell you what though. There's if you go to Neal, spelled Neal.Fun, it's a guy who has like all these different experiences, like interactive, like kind of infographics and stuff, and every now and then he puts out like these little experiences. And I played his latest output called Stimulation Clicker, which is a idle game, sort of like Universal Paperclips or that weird banana game that's on Steam that's got like 1 billion concurrents or something. Or what's the cookie? What's the cookie one called?
Cookie Clicker.
Cookie Clicker.
It is just Cookie Clicker. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like that, but it's basically just a commentary on like how it's 2025 now, how in modern day, like, we have all these distractions and all this technology and all these notifications and stuff like that, and it basically starts with you clicking, just like a normal clicker, and then instead of, like, I don't know, building up a Death Star as you do in Universal Paperclips, it just starts adding more distractions on the screen. So it's like, okay, it starts and then then it's like, oh, you've clicked 20 times, add a DVD logo
Yep.
that starts bouncing around the screen.
Which then
And
also
then
adds to your
goes,
clicks.
yes, yeah. So it's like, okay, every time the DVD hits off a corner or whatever, that's 13 more clicks to your total, and then it starts adding. Oh, do you want to listen to a true crime podcast? Do you want to watch a guy doing a mukbang? Do you want like email notifications? And it just keeps adding. And I thought I was going to have a stroke. Like after like 20 minutes in this game, because it's so much coming at you, and it's hilarious. It's like when you get the email stuff, um some of the emails, it's like take the time to read some of that stuff because it's absolutely hilarious. Like how you order like an anime body pillow, and then you have like 10 steps, like the delivery coming to it. It's like, okay, your anime body pillow has been shipped. Now it's on the van. The van is on a plane. The plane has taken off.
Nice.
The plane with the van has landed. Yeah, it's hilarious, and yeah, it's really good. I don't want to spoil too many of the other things that are in it because it's a delight just seeing all those stupid things, and it's like, yes, this is why I have just like devolved into just doing cryptic crosswords because it's like it's too much. It's too much. And this, yeah, this I guess you could call it a game. This mini experience is just, very representative and emblematic of like the noise that we face on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
And it's like
absolutely.
I've reduced mine a lot. It's like I've never had notifications on my phone unless it's text or call or like the badges. It's like none of that. So, yeah, because there was several years ago where I was like, oh, the first thing I do in the morning is like check email, and then throughout the day I'm continually checking email, and I was like, let's turn off the badge for this because I turn off the badge for everything else. Turn off the badge for that. That shows you how many emails or whatever you've got. And it's like, oh, I check emails maybe once or twice a day now. It's like,
Oh,
cool.
that would be nice. That'd be lovely.
But yeah, stimulation clicker, give it a go. It's hilarious and completely free. I've played quite a few of his experiences. So I dropped him some money as you can.
Nice.
Well, sort of like on itch.io you can, download stuff for free, but if you want to buy things, you can. Or in this case, it's like one of those apps where you can just say, "Buy me a coffee," and you just drop a few pennies over. But another good one of his is it's basically an infographic where you're just scrolling down the screen of like how deep the ocean is. It basically visualizes how deep the ocean is, and it's I think that one's really, 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 really good.
That's cool. Is that the
But
deep sea?
It's not a game. Yeah, that one's fantastic because it's like, oh Christ, what the hell is down there?
Yeah.
It's kind of deep. But yeah, yeah, Neal.Fun. Some really cool things.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
very cool.
other than that, not played anything.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Nice. Just before we move on, then, I will just mention. I think I mentioned it sort of before we sort of broke up for the winter. I have been playing. I haven't actually played a huge amount over the winter break, even though Evelyn has been here as well. And we started playing a bit of Antstream Arcade, and a game full of a bunch of old arcade experiences, and it's got its own sort of spin on that. So I'll probably talk about that a little bit more next week, because I did get another DualSense pad for Christmas. So
Nice.
Evelyn and I can sort of, we were taking it in turns playing a lot of one-player sort of stuff, whereas now we can kind of jump into a lot more of the two-player kind of thing, so go kind of head-to-head on some of the arcade
Yeah, you
stuff.
can play Sonic 2 and you can help her out by being Tails.
Just spin in the air constantly, just disappear off the
You
screen.
can get rings.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing is the metaphysics around if Sonic is down to 0 rings and Tails gets a ring and then Sonic has hit, the ring comes out of Sonic?
Yes. some backhand sort of ring sharing.
Yeah. So that's what you would initially think, but then you have to pause and say, where the fuck do the rings go in the first place?
Ultrasonic, he's greedy.
He's got no pockets though. Yeah.
And his little pot belly is just a little too thin to store even one ring all the way around. Yes, I said pot belly, internet freaks.
Introduce her to Burger Time.
I wonder whether that's on there. Actually, yeah. She's. I don't know. She's enjoyed. She's been playing. There's a bunch of newer games on there, which are more in like an arcadey kind of sort of style as well. So she's been playing a few of those, which are a little bit more easy to control. I showed her sort of some of them, some of the older games. Tried to get her to play Metal Slug, and she's like, nah. Oh, yeah, why does everything gets shot once and they die, and then you get to a boss and you've got to shoot it 4 billion times? She's just like, no, but not bothered with this one.
Oh no, I know. She's a lost cause if she doesn't like Metal Slug. Just cut ties now.
Exactly. She's like.
Don't invest any more time in her if she doesn't like Metal Slug.
Well, I've tried to give her some of the pinball kind of games. The old style kind of pinball games and stuff, or the digitized sort of versions of those, and they're so slow. I can't remember whether they were always so bloody slow. And she's like, she'll click the button for the flipper, and it's just sort of like the ball will just roll off the end. She's like, no, done with these things. I played one table. I hate this. So yeah, we'll explore it. We'll explore it some more together. She and I. I'll come back in a couple of weeks or next week and give you some more info. I'm just staring now at this deep sea from Neal.Fun. Just all of the different fucking animals and how
weird
far down
stuff down there.
How far down it goes. Yeah. Nice, good. Okay, so let's launch the second half of the episode then, and talk about the games we're looking forward to in 2025. There's a bunch of the publishers and developers are getting a little bit more. Some games have been slated for certain certain periods during a year or specific dates during a year, like 2 or 3 years before it's going to come out. And it actually seems like there's only maybe like the first 6 months of the year games have actual release dates. Doesn't seem to be release dates almost for anything in the second half of the year yet, but lots of games suggesting they're coming out this year.
I looked at the GameSpot list and I didn't recognize the names of any.
Civ 7.
Yeah,
there was 1 or 2, but no games that I was interested in. I wrote down a few but I don't know the names of. These were the ones off the top of my head.
Go on then, Lucy. What have you got?
The next Broken Sword game.
Okay. I didn't know there was.
I don't know what that's called. Yeah, I don't know if it's out this year, but I know there's a new Broken Sword game coming out. The next Ender Lilies. Again, don't know what the sequel's called. I think it was in early access, and I think it's out this year.
Because it's not there's one that came out last year, or maybe it came out in early access last year, but it's not called Ender Lilies. It's called like Ender something else, isn't it? It's different. It's a different flower or something like that, I think.
Ender Lilac.
I think you're right.
Because it's a different character and a different ability that they have, I think. So it's a similar kind of thing. So it's still a Metroidvania set in the same kind of world, but I'm pretty sure it's a different title.
Sequel. Ender Magnolia. Bloom in the Mist. Yeah, the first one was. So Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist. Yeah, Steam. Release date 20. Yeah, it's still in
early access. Yeah.
Not sure when full release is, but I imagine it's sometime this year.
Yeah,
wouldn't imagine it'd be in thingy for over a year. Let me put Ender Magnolia release date 1.0. Oh, so this month.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
January 22nd. Also out this month is Citizen Sleeper 2. I'm sure that will be fun.
That's come out. That seems to
And
come out
then-
really quickly.
Yeah.
Because Citizen Sleep is from
I don't know.
2023.
Yeah, but it's not like God of War Ragnarok.
Sure.
It's just like pretty simple tabletop like kind of RPG.
Yeah.
Like there's no like cutscenes or anything like that. It is just like static art and stuff. But and I only found out about this the other day. There's a no, that should say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles tactics game that's coming out
Oh.
this year.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. Tactical Takedown.
Oh yeah.
Made by the Strange Scaffold who did like Click Holding and El Paso elsewhere. Like quite a few recent games that have been highly.
What was the one you played a few years? Warlord Organ Simulator.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so hopefully that's good. Because, I mean, I need to get to the Metal Slug one. I started it, but I just haven't gone back to it. That seemed promising, but yeah, just make more kinds of games in good franchises. I'll be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just added that to my wish list.
That was it for me. Yeah, I didn't recognise any of the names of pretty much anything that was on that GameSpot list. So yeah.
That's fair. I think it was I can't remember if it was a GameSpot list or another one that I looked at a couple of weeks ago. But I got like 10 games because I was gonna write something for the site, and then I'm like, I can't be bothered to write. But I'll run through those in a minute. Aadil, have you had a?
I'm looking forward to finally finishing Final Fantasy VII on the PC, so that I can at some point purchase Final Fantasy VII 2 on the PC, which comes out this month.
Yeah.
And I can talk to you about that game maybe in 2027.
Isn't there a third one coming out, or is that was right?
Yeah, at this point they have stuck to their line of it being a trilogy. I heard really good things about FF7.
It seems alright.
FF7 2 too.
Seems okay. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, I can't remember where that came on my list. Was it second? Was it third? I can't remember where it was on the end of year list.
Yeah.
It was in there somewhere. As the first game was as well, or the reimagined Final Fantasy VII that released a few years ago.
Remake versus Rebirth.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what the next one's going to be called.
Renaissance.
Well, the characters. I mean, it should be called Reunion because a bunch of the characters just constantly say Reunion throughout Rebirth. All of the soldiers.
Foreshadowing.
Exactly, but I doubt they'll call it that. They'll call it something silly. I expect.
Final Fantasy Forspoken too.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be Re-Ally. Final Fantasy VII. Really?
Nice. And you mentioned
done, really?
yeah, the first one that was on my list that you just mentioned as well, Aadil, Civ 7, which is I think a February game.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah, it looks really good. Like visually, it looks fucking brilliant.
7.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I never actually got around to
like
6. I think I bought it and then just Civ games take a while.
They do. They absolutely do.
I don't remember 6 even coming out because everyone loved 5, didn't they? I don't even remember.
5. I thought 5 was the one people complained about, and then 6 undid some of that.
No.
One person who liked 5.
No.
Was that 4?
5 was the one that everyone loved, and 6 was then the one that people also complained about, because people complain about shit.
Because they just want somehow to play like Civ 2 or 3 again, but feel like it's new and have more bells and whistles, but not actual more bells and whistles, because then they'll complain about the bells and whistles.
Exactly. I don't imagine, I just went onto Steam to look at my hours in these things, and I don't imagine this is quite true of the amount that I've played, but currently Civ 6 is sat at 387 hours. I imagine a reasonable amount of that will be it running idle on my machine as I'm doing other stuff. But Civ 5 is only 189 hours, so almost twice as many hours in Civ 6 as I got in Civ 5. And I actually think Civ 5 is a better game than 6, but probably a bit harder to go back to. I would imagine once you've played 6 to then step back a little bit more difficult. But yeah, Civ 6 is my most played game by hours on Steam. So yes, 7 is definitely one I'm kind of looking forward to, as they changed how settlements work. They build a little bit more naturally now. There's changing in aesthetics over the years, and rather than it just being like, oh, it's now a modern city in the modern era, there's kind of this idea that the cities kind of keep maybe some of their earlier architecture and those kinds of things, and actually develop along river systems and stuff like a city kind of would, which is interesting to me, of course. So yeah, that's kind of sure, I can go and just bash some people as well with some soldiers and stuff and try and take them over. But actually seeing how those settlements evolve and stuff is really, really interesting.
You talk about hours played, reminded me of Call of Duty, which I haven't played a lot of, but I did play that Squid Game mode in it.
There was a Squid Game mode?
Green light. There's a Squid Game black where I don't know, people just buying skins. I just see everyone in like green jumpsuits now.
Oh, I see.
Is this a Warzone or a multiplayer?
Multiplayer.
Right.
Yeah. And there was a red light, green light mode, which is I like when games get stupid, but it is just like the most basic of additions to Call of Duty, where it is just like your character runs and then stops and then runs and then stops. There's literally nothing to it. I played twice and I won one of the times because it's just like, okay, I know when this stupid doll is going to turn around, and I just stop running. Cool. But yeah, that is literally it. Holding on the right joystick and taking your finger off the right joystick.
Nice. Good.
And then putting your finger back on the right joystick, etc. Rinse and repeat. But it's stupid.
More challenging
and
gameplay
cool
than the
that
average
it's in
Call of
there.
Duty players used to.
Yeah, because God, I still carry every team. But anyway, that's my weekly rant about Call of Duty and the state of that game.
Fair.
Continue, Ben.
So I'll
Civ 6, 7.
So Civ 7, yes. I'll reel off the other games in the list and let me know if just stop me if you want me to say anything about any of these that I've been sort of looking into. So I've got some of the big ones which don't have dates yet, like Mafia: The Old Country, Death Stranding 2.
That's one that I'm looking forward to too. It's on my list.
Yeah, I don't think it's got a date yet.
That one.
Have a quick look on Steam and see if it says anything.
I mean, there's like, the ones that, because like GTA 6, like I'm looking forward to that, but it's like that's not coming out this year. Let's be real.
What are you talking about? They said
they did say, but it will be like December 31st.
Just like the last 30 years of them saying it'll come out this year, and it just. The 2 years goes by. Yeah, sure.
The PS5
they have to
version
wait for the dollars to stop going as fast in the GTA Online, right?
True.
But I mean, like, I think we all like the Mafia games. So yeah, this one is it's a pushed back version as well. So it's set in like 1900s, right? And in Sicily, so it takes you out of the States, which is cool. An interesting take as well. The other kind of big ones, maybe not to talk too much about, but Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotai, so the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, FBC Firebreak, Federal Bureau of Control Firebreak. So it's a multiplayer game from Remedy. So it's the
I didn't hear about this.
set in the Control Alan Wake kind of universe. Looks interesting, but it's going to be.
I had no idea this was in that universe.
It's like a 3-player game.
It's a 3-player first-person shooter set within a mysterious federal agency.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they do stuff like within Control only the main character has powers. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what they do around that in a multiplayer sort of experience as well.
Can I play as a fridge?
Probably.
No fridge, no play.
That is coming, I think, to
Huh.
PS Plus and Xbox Game Pass.
Didn't
Both
Remedy have
day one.
Didn't Remedy have a multiplayer game that was like for Tencent or some
I don't
weird
know.
property
Maybe.
that nobody paid attention to,
I don't know.
even in like China? I'm pretty sure that. Hold on, let me Google this
Do it.
because I'm pretty sure they did. Remedy multiplayer game.
You'll only get Firebreak now.
Let's have a look. I'll put 10 cents.
10-cent coupon.
Oh, I don't know. It was for like some franchise that is like big in China. You know,
Right.
make like a multiplayer game for it. And yeah, it makes sense why no one over here would hear about it. I'll keep looking. You lot carry on.
Cool. Keep looking. What have I done? What have I said? Those big ones. Silk Song was on my list, but that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's not coming out.
No, I think some of the more interesting games that I'm looking forward to are those smaller, well, those kind of middle experiences, right? So something like Moonlighter 2. Absolutely loved Moonlighter. How do you do more Moonlighter and be an evolution of that kind of first game, or that, the next step, a reasonable kind of sequel, rather than just playing more Moonlighter. So I'm kind of looking forward to see how that happens. What happens with that game?
It was a single player game, Crossfire X.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a single player game.
don't think I've heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
That would be a good quiz.
Smilegate
Who developed
Entertainment.
this 10-cent game? And it would just be someone
Sorry,
you've
it
really heard
wasn't
of. but just no idea.
Tencent. It was someone called Smilegate Entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what the hell this is? Generally, unfavorable reviews from critics.
Fair.
Yeah, I hope they got the paycheck, and I hope it's what has funded Alan Wake 2,
Well, there you go.
etc.
Yeah. The only other ones, just to touch on, are Tron Catalyst, which is being developed by Bithell Games. I love Tron, and Catalyst looks cool in a kind of slightly isometric action game. So that looks cool. Hyperlight Breaker as well, which is a sequel to Hyperlight Drifter, but is now in a third-person perspective, so completely different to Hyperlight Drifter. But that universe is cool. I never finished that game because that's really fucking hard. So it'd be interesting to see a little bit more from that, and the I think this shift in perspective in games is really interesting. When you're so used to something, like Risk of Rain, right? And then Risk of Rain 2 comes out and it's completely fucking different. That change is really interesting to me, to see how a studio kind of develops. Helldivers and Helldivers 2, that kind of step. Just to see how they deal with it. I think the last one is Wonder Stop, which is which I don't get it, right? I don't get Wonder Stop. It's an indie game. It's an Annapurna published game coming out in March. The text on Steam literally just says, from the creator of the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide comes Wonder Stop, a narrative-centric, cozy game about change and tea. Yeah. But Davey Reedon throws a bunch of fucking random stuff into his games, right? This cannot just be what, like, all of the screenshots on Steam are like, yeah, this looks nice. It's someone that owns a shop. You're going out into the environment. You're picking things. We've had a bunch of these games that kind of play around with this sort of slightly more cozy sort of aesthetic and setting and stuff. But that can't be it, right? That can't be it from Davey Reedon. There's got to be some underlying fucking thing in this where the whole world just shatters and it turns into, Pony Island 2 or something like that.
Yeah. Because I remember just like reading an article, literally, it was probably about 2 days ago, about about this game, so I've completely forgotten the name of it by them because it is very generic. But yeah, I was like, okay, from the creator of Stanley
Oh,
Parable, I'll put it on my wish
interesting.
list.
So if you read the
Well, I like
Steam blurb description, in your down, I'll just skip down to the last couple paragraphs. In your downtime, you might tidy up around the clearing, decorate the shop in your style, or just sit on a bench with a cup of tea and listen to your own thoughts. Maybe doing nothing at all is okay. The shop demands patience. It rejects those who have come only in the pursuit of growth unchecked. And that's why Alta can't be here. It's why she'll never make it. This isn't who she is. No, she's a fighter. Why would anyone insist on turning the world's greatest championship warrior into a docile shopkeeper? With everything she's capable of? No, she won't do it. She can't.
Good.
I really hope it just turns into like Tekken. And she's throwing someone into like a volcano. And,
someone comes in the shop and is like, I demand this. And like, we haven't got
yeah.
just straight out the window. But yeah, it's the team is called Ivy Road, which says, as you said, right at the bottom of that Steam thing, including David Reed and creator of the Stanley Parable and Beginner's Guide, Carla Zimonia, co-creator of Gone Home and Tacoma, both great games as well. And then Daniel Rosenfeld of the music of Minecraft. It's not someone I've heard of, but cool.
Yeah.
Fair.
Let's hope it's like Frog Fractions 2 or something.
Just throws it to a fucking complete spin.
Yeah.
I think that there are a ton of games like slated already, and I think I can't remember the exact number, but I did read that as it is every year, Steam had something like 14,000 games released on it last year.
And I bought all of them. Played 2. Balatro and Vampire Survivors.
The best 2, to be fair. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So I have to say, I've got a couple I'm interested in that aren't on that list. Mostly because I heard such great things about the Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and the new one is Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And I don't know, it's what I like about these new ones is it seems like you don't actually have to have any buy-in from previous parts of the series. Like if you wanted to play Yakuza 5, you should really have played 1 through 4 first, and then when 0 came out, people were like, "Oh, you should play 0 first before you do any of it." I'm like, it's just like an anime. But like, I'm secretly hoping is there's going to be part of this game which is brilliant, and it's all the pirate combat in exactly the way you want. That Ubisoft's dumbass can't even just take 2/3 of your Assassin's Creed game out that's already made and just republish that. You just somehow fuck it up. You can't go on shore in that game. You're essentially a boat in a lot of the game.
What's
Anyway.
it called again?
Skull and Bones.
Yes.
Mm.
So I'm kind of looking forward to it because I hope it gives a sense of just how bad Ubisoft fucked up, even though this is a silly game for silly people. And then the other one is Knights in Tight Spaces.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Nice.
yeah. It's the medieval spin on it, rather than the John Wick thing of the last one.
I don't know why. I think we spoke about it, but never did anything. But like, the dude who makes Tights and Fights and Tights and Spaces. Now I know why. I was like, he's in Bristol.
Oh really?
Oh really?
And we never reached out. So we should.
Absolutely. just before Knights in
I'm pretty
space.
Sure this is the game of...
Knights in Tights in small spaces. No, the Knights
Fights
will
in tight
probably be
spaces.
in tights, but not in the spaces. Yes, Fights in Tight Spaces, 2021, and then Knights in Tight Spaces. Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll look into that. I hadn't realised. Nice.
Oh world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To jump back onto
Mhm.
Pirates in Hawaii, which isn't the name. It's Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, isn't it? But anyway, the studio, Ryuga Gotoku Studio, they fucking blast games out. There's a game a fucking year, and I know that everything is sort of stemmed out of the Yakuza universe, and a lot of Yakuza games came out in the East a lot sooner than they actually kind of came out here, and there's a different naming convention as well, I believe, for some of these games. But like a Dragon, which came out, or Yakuza Like a Dragon, which came out in 2020, a bunch of remasters of the Yakuza games. Then Yakuza 6, Judgment, Lost Judgment, Like a Dragon, Ishin,
every year
Like
now,
a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and now Like a Dragon Yakuza, or Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. That's a game a year they're smashing out.
Yeah, it's almost as if you don't lay off your entire team, that these teams can get very streamlined and efficient and make money for you.
Absolutely.
Look at the From Software. They churn out games like nobody's business as well.
They are at the moment, absolutely. With that Elden Ring multiplayer thing that's coming out this year as well.
Night Rain or something like that. So it's who'd have thought if you don't, just disrupt your entire development team, and they might actually get efficient and start producing and earn you profits, which you want. But,
yeah.
Well, Japan hasn't got like such an awful capitalist regime. Still capitalist, but not as awful as the West. So yeah, it's like they appreciate like look at the Pokemon company. Jesus Christ. Their games aren't even good.
Yeah, but at least when they pump out franchise games that aren't good, that's quicker than like like I said, the pirate game. When was Assassin's Creed 4?
Oh wow, yeah, fair.
Like 15 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Or 10 years ago.
No.
Like 2014 or something? Or was that Unity? I think it was like 2014, was it not?
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was released in
2013. No, that was Assassin's Creed 3.
Where does it tell me?
It's like 2015?
2013. 2013.
Okay.
That's interesting.
10 years ago.
It doesn't tell me. So if you go to it on Steam, it doesn't actually tell me on Steam what the original release date was.
Oh, Steam's really bad about those.
Yeah.
Is it because it was on like Uplay or something like that?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been on Steam. It wouldn't have come out on Steam.
Oh, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you had a date, it it would probably be the date of Steam.
The Steam release. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, October 29th, 2013. Thanks,
So
Dark Mode Wikipedia.
That was the first one on the new consoles at the time. That's interesting.
That was like a PS4 game, wasn't it? Because they released
PS3.
Rogue.
It was the 3-4 one. It was the Borderline one.
Right, because I okay.
I thought 3 was the first one that came out on new consoles, but I'm obviously wrong.
This is why
unless they came out with this one on the new
is a
consoles.
good thing.
When did the PS4 come out?
2013.
Oh well, then probably not then.
No, I just remember like Assassin's Creed 3 is where they lost me. And I haven't really played one since. Especially when they just made them open world RPGs. I was like, no, this ain't happening.
Assassin's Creed 3, a remastered version came out on the PS4, but it originally just
so Black Flag was the first one to come out on PS4 because they then brought out Rogue the year after, but that was a
the early Assassin's Creed
game,
era,
right? But Rogue came out and Unity came out the year after, and Unity was an Xbox One PS4 game, But
Right.
Rogue was a
Mhm.
pre-generation game and came out on like 360 and PS3, and
Oh.
then ported up to those, though that current generation
Right.
of consoles a few years after that. But yeah, it's almost every year, as you said, Lucy. Assassin's Creed, the original game, 2007. Assassin's Creed 2, 2009, so a couple of years. But then Brotherhood, 2010. Revelations, 2011. Assassin's Creed 3, 12. Black Flag, 13. Rogue and Unity, 14. Syndicate, 15. And then Origins, so whether it turns more into those RPG sort of settings. Origins came out in 2017, so a couple of years after. Odyssey,
Crazy to
2018.
think.
Again,
Yeah.
straight a year after. Odyssey just blasts out after
Yeah.
Origins.
It's crazy to think that I've played like only a third or less of the Assassin's Creed, like the mainline ones.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I liked Assassin's Creed. It's like, no, I played 3 of them.
Yeah, and you played them before they hit their stride, or where their stride is what they
Yeah.
decided to make for the rest of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
like,
that's one of the games that's coming out this year.
Mm.
Yes,
It's like- it's
Shadows.
like when
in
you
Yeah.
think
Japan
about the
pre-Shadow.
It's like when you think about The Simpsons, it's like, no, there's way more episodes. I haven't watched them.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, there's like 30 other seasons that I haven't seen. Yeah, crazy.
Time and franchises that don't know when to die.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good. What a lovely place to finish then. For
That's
this
not an episode title to be bleak for 2025. Time and franchises that don't know when they
Well,
should die.
Hollow Knight knew when to die because it's only one game. So the other is Vaporware. That's never coming out.
I hope
Okay,
that,
honestly, do you lot think we will actually get Silksong this
No.
year?
Not this year.
No, I don't think so.
No, I think there would have been some more press at this point.
Well, didn't they? Was it in not the last Nintendo Direct of the year, or one of the later Nintendo Directs of the year? They did a little bit of Silksong like right at the end, didn't they?
Wasn't it
What,
just like a
3 years
splash
ago?
screen?
No, it
I
was
think that
last
was
year.
genuinely like
Last
2,
year.
3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
It wasn't last year, or maybe even the year before.
But
I think
that-
it was about
I mean,
3 years ago.
That's when it will release. It would like shadow drop and just be on like a Nintendo Direct right at the end or something. It's like, oh, available now.
Just
Just like
break
no
the
fanfare
internet.
whatsoever. Just just to see how nuts fucking everybody goes.
Oh.
But dear listener, if you want to talk to us about the games that you are looking forward to, or if there's any interesting alcohol-free beers or just normal beers that you're drinking, you can do that and hit us up on outoflives.net, on our YouTube page for Out of Lives, on Out of Lives on Blue Sky as well. Because
yeah.
we're not using Twitter anymore. The Tanks Up Twitter still exists. No one's been on it for months.
Twitter doesn't exist.
No, I mean the Instagram exists as well. The Tanks one, no one's been on that for months. Mark Zuckerberg's a complete cunt, as he's just. I mean, he was always a complete cunt, but he's just told everybody he's a complete cunt in the last couple of weeks as well, or last week. So you shouldn't be using his websites or any of his products anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, there's not many places to get us anymore. But go to outlives.net because it's the best website, at least that I'm part of. I'm at Nova _. No, I'm not. I'm at Nova 47 on Blue Sky now because there's no underscore anymore. Aadil, you are.
At the Omniarch.
And Lucy, you are.
Non-problematic platform YouTube. You can find.
Ooh, I wouldn't go that far. Do you remember the
Even-
controversies about the autoplay giving those
I
weird
don't-
computer-generated, creepy, fake bluey cartoons that corrupted youth?
And Peppa Pig. Lots of
No.
Peppa Pig murder.
Oh yeah, it was Peppa
Oh,
Pig Bluey's.
really?
Like,
Oh, I have to
Fake
find a
Peppa Pig
YouTube video
episodes.
about this.
oh no, I did
Yeah.
see a Bluey one, and it was awful because one of the best things about Bluey is how it pushes against patriarchal modeling.
Mhm.
And this fake Bluey episode had like very strong gender roles in the parents, and I was like, "Oh, this is so much worse than just ripping off IP."
Yeah, just
Destroy the message.
I'm doing all the good lessons we've taught the kids via
Yeah.
Bluey. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's Lucy Verbalist on YouTube. Yeah, were there any final thoughts about the beers?
Oh yeah. Oh shit. I mean,
Mm.
it was a beer.
But I mean, for an alcohol-free beer,
I thought it was
it
good.
looks almost like lemonade.
No, it does, but I think Ben was right. I think becoming a bit more acclimatized to the weaker finish
Yep.
happened over time. I think it's very good. So
Yeah, I'd agree. If you sort of started, this is your first beer, you slow down drinking it as you're kind of going through it. Definitely, you don't keep up that pace, that initial kind of taste that you're chasing, sort of makes you do. So you slow down a little bit, and I think, as you said, Lucy, your palate does acclimatise definitely to it.
yeah,
and the
and I
flavour
think
lasts
those
up a little.
initial flavors linger on the palate long enough where
Yes.
you don't feel the need to be searching for the flavor and just continually getting that slightly disappointed finish. So
Yeah,
yeah,
agreed.
I think it's good. But yeah, hopefully next episode we can hear your thoughts on the stout.
Yes, yeah, I might go and drink it now. I won't probably. But Aadil, what about the Whitstable Bay? Any final thoughts?
It did exactly what it stayed. Exactly what it tasted like. The last sip was as good as the first sip. It's got a slightly dry finish, which is again kind of what you want out of this type of thing. So a couple minutes after my last sip, I still have a slight coppery taste in my mouth.
Okay.
And I'm a bit thirsty, forgetting that I brought water. So that problem solved. Yeah, no, it's good. I honestly, for our this has been on the shelf at the Sainsbury's since I've moved here. I think it's hard to tell. All these bottles look the same. I will keep an eye out for it because you get the 3 for $6.50 or whatever the special is, and just have a few of those in my fridge for generic want a beer or playing game and not really paying attention to beer.
Yeah, fair.
There are some very decent pockets of just breweries that you've never even heard of, but have just been continually churning out decent beer, and it doesn't taste like macro rot. Just because it's traditional styles, and it's still being bottled rather than all these cans with all their fancy art. It's no, there are just so many breweries in the UK just churning out beers like that unassumedly and not quite burst into the craft market that we're very accustomed to, but just do their thing, and they're nice beers. Aylesbury Brewery that I got a advent calendar for Christmas for. Just great beers. Very traditional style. This is good. This is nice. So it'd be nice to find those different breweries, really, because there's tons of them throughout the country.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's just knowing the right ones.
Yeah, definitely. Good. Perfect. A much better place to finish on than our previous point. Then, thank you everybody for joining us. We've been Tanked Up, and we'll be back next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net